Hello everyone, it's Peach and Ari from Design for Geeks, and today we're here with Albiol from Valencia to talk about Agile for small teams, which is a super interesting subject because we are talking about UX a lot and how all of us can use the UX process. So the Agile methodology is something that maybe you haven't heard about, or maybe you've heard about it, but you don't know what it is. And I am so excited to have Ma here to explain it to us because she's used it with big projects and also small projects. So she knows all the sides, and I can't wait to have her talk to us about it. Now, I met Ma because, as some of you probably know, I live in Valencia now. I used to live in London and now I live in Valencia. So I met Ma because she's one of the organizers of the Valencia chapter for Ladies Wine Design, which is a wonderful global organization creating a community for women designers, which is brilliant because when I started, there was no community for design. I really looked for it and I couldn't find it. And now I have it. And I have it actually internationally. When I travel, when I go to conferences, I know that I can get in touch with the ladies of Ladies Wine Design, and I have friends already and people to meet, which is what happened when I went to Helsinki this year and Amsterdam and also London. I mean, in London, I don't need it as much, but still, it's really great. And anyway, over to you, Ma. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, introduce yourself probably better than the way I've done it. Tell us more about your background, how you got here, and yes.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you very much. I'm really, really excited to talk with you about this. And for me, it's really amazing that, that people is more and more interested in UX and just, now how to start implementing UX in a more lean way, in a more agile way, right? Like how can we be faster just working and leaving anxiety far away from us, right? So I will introduce a little bit myself, and thank you for your words first. Ladies Wine Design is an amazing initiative everywhere in the world. I'm currently post collaborating, but the rest of the team of Ladies Wine Design is doing an awesome job. So basically, my background is kind of funny because I've probably like a lot of the design geeks community. It's difficult to find your path, right? Like you think that you want to be this, then you start doing that, and then you discover this other thing, and then you just connect dots, and you end up anywhere where you never thought you would be. And it's actually very exciting to see that evolution and how consistent it is, right? And how much it is connected with your personal values. So my background was actually in arts. I studied fine arts in Valencia, and then I did my Erasmus in Milan, which was my first big international experience. And it was very exciting to be there because the design community was very big. It was a totally different vibe back then. And from there, I got the interest of this Dutch company, Label A, in Amsterdam, and they hired me basically to work as a UI designer, which I had to Google because I had no clue what that was.
That's great.
Yeah, so I was like, oh my God, yeah, sure. I did a couple of websites. My mother is a developer. I think that's why I also love so much, this world. And for me, it has been like a role model in the tech world, right? It's quite exceptional. And yeah, so I said, sure. And then 2 weeks later, I was in Amsterdam and they were asking me to do wireframes. And when they said, you want to do wireframes, I was like, why, what? Like, what is that? So I was just constantly Googling and translating. I was like, I'm not sure if it's because I'm Spanish and I don't know the English words, but I don't know what that is. So it was very terrifying when I arrived. I was 21 at the time.
Oh my God.
It was really crazy. I also never been in the Netherlands before. Like, it was just a crazy job for me. But it was very exciting because my mentor and currently my partner at Gusta, that is the studio where that we found last year, he helped me to mentor me like through the whole process of design. So I learned not by studying design in university, right? That is the typical thing. You study law and then you'll be a lawyer, right? But no, this was like, okay, let's go from zero, basically, with a bit of art background, of course, that can help, of course. And let's move into this. So he mentored me, and I learned by doing, and I learned also by getting lots of punches, right? Learning with a lot of those. Because what made the big change for me in my career was that at Albiol, they didn't have any project managers. So we had to manage our clients, which were big clients, like very global known brands. So we had to manage it with our design team, our development team, or engineering team, and we had to learn by failing a lot.
Yeah, which is UX actually. You learn by failing. That's basically the point. Yeah.
Indeed. So I was there, just learned the word wireframe, and I had to deal with the projects. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm also a very, you probably already noticed, like, I'm very, like, pumped up, and I talk very fast, and right, those kind of things. So I'm anxious enough in my normal life to add extra pressure on me. So after my first project, I was like, oh my God, this has been a horrible experience. Like, the client was just asking me to make changes, and I was saying, just sure, he's the one paying, so I have to give him what he wants, right? If I have to do that in the weekends or I have to do it after work, I'll do that because, I don't want him to be pissed. I want him to be happy. I want to show to the rest that I can do this and that. Bad idea. Bad idea.
Bad idea. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I learned by causing a lot of extra, like, I put way too many hours on the projects. The client way too many things. So my boss was like, okay, so your hours, how am I going to pay this if I didn't plan your extra hours on this? And I was like, but what? Like, we were supposed to give him everything he wants. No, and I was like, no. And then from that moment, I think, it was confidential, but the Agile world started to be there. I will definitely introduce what is Agile. I'm just talking about.
Yeah. But it's a great story. You were thrown in at the deep end, to be fair to you. If you didn't even know, you were learning design, you were very young, you were not told how to deal with clients. It's on the boss, really. It wasn't on you. But I guess you learned the hard way. And by the way, interesting fact, I'm not a trained designer either.
No.
I did history of art.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. So we're all there's so many of us did not actually start from a design degree, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Definitely. So I was in that environment, right? And then at the same time, some of my colleagues were talking about Agile and Scrum, and it was like, okay, this is another word like wireframe. I don't know what it is. I had to Google this. And then we started to do some projects, testing some tools and some way of doing things and organizing the projects. And I was like, wow, this is such a relief. Like, I don't have to be like worrying if my hours are, not counting, or like I don't have to worry about knowing what the client really wants, because we already know from the beginning. So before starting designing, I already knew what the client wanted. So that relieves so much stress. And that's why we're here, right?
Exactly.
I'm so passionate about this topic because I just want I'm a very social person. I really enjoy having fun with people and like talking to them, and that everyone is happy, around me and around the projects, whatever. So this was exactly the combination of things that I liked. Was like living more calm, like in a more calm way, and everyone was happy, and I was using design, that is what I liked, right, in the end, all together. So that's why I became more and more passionate about it, and studied more about it. So nowadays, this is like maybe 5 years after, I am actually very eager to start my own business aside of Gusta, for doing training and consultancy for teams, just in a creative way, right? To how to implement these techniques for others. So if you want, guys, we can start actually talking a bit more about Agile.
Yes, we can't wait to know. Yes.
Yeah, you were already like me, just like Googling what is she saying.
I know a little bit about Agile, but I don't really know Scrum, because I come from design for print, and my approach to design is different, and I have not done. Anyway, I've never used it, so yes, can't wait to find out.
Okay, awesome. So I had here some slides that I prepared. Let me share 1 second. Start share. So I made some slides because Agile can be like maybe kind of a famous word, but there are some concepts on it that can be a bit abstract. So I wanted to have some visual support just so it's more clear, and yeah, it might be easier to understand in this like 30 minutes that we have, right? So a little introduction about the topic. So actually, Agile started in 2001 when 17 people of the world of tech got together and thought of a better way to doing tech projects, actually. It was born as a set of principles more than, like a perfectly step-by-step guide of how to do something and succeed with it. Is like that's why also I love this methodology this framework, because it gives you the openness and the flexibility to be creative also with it. So you are not just designing creatively, but you are also managing your projects in a creative way that you can adapt depending on the context that you are and the project that you are working on. Doesn't matter if it's the website for a very famous clothing brand or just the bakery down in the street, right? So I will just quickly show the principles of the Agile Manifesto that they made. It was basically based on focus for development in that moment, because design is really, really young. So you have always individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software on top of comprehensive documentation. Remember those huge books on how to use this, right? And like these big briefings in contracts. Then customer collaboration over contract negotiation. That's exactly what I was saying. If a client comes and is like, "Yay, I want you to build this management system that is going to do this, is going to do that. How can you know how much that is going to cost?" Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you can't.
Yeah, indeed. And if you say, I think it's going to be around 5 months. And he's like, okay, there you go, like a pile of money for you, right? And then you are ending the 5 months and you realize, oh my God, I would need actually 6 extra months to finish this, because I couldn't estimate such a big thing in advance, right?
Yeah.
So this is where comes customer collaboration over contract negotiation and responding to change to following a plan. And that's a bit the flexibility that I was talking about before. But I will explain a bit where we come from. And please, Picha, just interrupt me whenever you feel that it's necessary.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that this is something that I do all the time. I'm not using Agile, but I tell clients constantly, especially when they have a big, complex project, I say, look, we need to look at it first, and then I can quote it. But I would still do it in chunks of 1 month, because I can't do it otherwise. It's not possible. So yeah, sorry. maybe I'm using a form. Anyway, interesting. Please carry on.
You will definitely, like, I think with this example and this comparison, you are going to feel very, like, it's very easy to visualize what we all did before, right? And what I am actually practicing nowadays in Gusta, and that's why I never work extra hours, and I know my estimation, I know my velocity, and it feels so good, guys.
Amazing.
There's too much stress in life. There's many things to care about that are way more important than job. And
absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
So this helps us to do that. That's why I like it so much. Maybe it's just because I'm a lazy person, right?
I am very lazy as well. Yes, let's all be lazy together.
So basically, I'm going to show the traditional way of working that is called waterfall. So it is a way where you actually is the top side of this graph, right? So you first define the project, then you start building it with that big pile of money and big amount of time that you gave. Then you do a release, that's where you show the client what you did, and then you find value. But at the same time, the risk is going very high because you are not verifying with the client if that's exactly what he wants. Maybe the context has changed and this new technology came, like, I don't know, for example, I can imagine, I don't know, if you use, for example, a table that is like basic how we know it now, and there's a way of building tables or data grids that in 3 months that is going to be explosion, right? Like the best way of making tables, super fast, efficient with this new technology. It appears in the middle of the way. You can't implement it because you have done it way before, and the client already paid for that. So you are trapped, sort of, and you have a lot of risk to fail because maybe your product is outdated at the end of the project, right? So the way that Agile works is in short iterations. So that means that you are delivering value every 2 weeks. So even sometimes 1 week. So that means that your risk is being reduced. There's this example that I always like to share also. I heard it in one of my trainings. It's like the waterfall would be a submarine that just goes down in the water and then continues the way and just goes out somewhere very far away. And it's like, where am I? I don't know if I'm in the middle of the ocean or in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. And Agile will be more like this submarine that comes up every once in a while to check that it's in the right path. I think, is that clear enough?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great analogy. I really like it. Yes, it's great.
So this is another example, right? So this is very funny. Basically, the traditional way of doing is like, okay, let's say, okay, you are born and you want to be this smart guy, right, in the end of your life. But it's as if you see that guy, you open the brain and then you insert him everything and then let it go. While Agile is a baby, we teach him how to, we bring him to school and then he goes to university or whatever he does. And, we help him to guide him through a way that he can develop himself as a professional, for example. Agile basically is the framework, is the set of values, the set of ideas. And inside that umbrella, there's some like mini frameworks. Well, maybe this is not the right way to say it, but it's basically a set of tools, a set of like processes that help us to practice Agile, like Agile development method, So Scrum comes from the word Scrum from rugby, that is teamwork, right? Where you're all together. And it's really helping teams to develop like very like big value in the shortest amount of time in a flexible way. So it's based in very important pillars that I really share and love from this. That compromise is the key of of this, because if you don't have a compromise and the team is not compromised with what they are doing, then it's not going to succeed ever. And it's very cool. This example is a typical one that everyone shares. There's this pig and this chicken, right? And they are talking about opening a new business, and the chicken says, hey, we can open a new restaurant. Should we call it ham and eggs? And then the pig is saying, no thanks, I'd be committed and you will only be involved. So
yeah,
why not call it, for example, wings and ribs? Then we are both committed, right?
Oh, yeah, and dead.
Yeah. So that's where we are like heading to. And also this set of values, at respect, being courageous, being open-minded and active listening to your colleagues and to the client and to the final user all the time, which is very touching the values also of what UX is, right? And then inside those pillars, you have a sort of kind of tools or a set of events, a set of artifacts and techniques, and a specific assignment of roles on the people that is participating on the projects. Even if you are by yourself, you can just kind of get those roles. But I don't know if you have any question you want to talk about a bit more about this, or I just continue talking.
Yeah, no, carry on. I am mesmerized. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to share like a bit more of what some of this terminology means, just so we talk and we all know what we're saying. I will talk from now on a lot about backlog, and I will mention this word a lot because the backlog is basically the source of truth, where all the things that you need to do for the project are going to be written down, are going to be prioritized, are going to be ordered, and are going to be changed every time that you do a new sprint, that is called, in every 2 weeks that you deliver something to the client. You're going to reorganize that backlog, you're going to groom it, you're going to clean it, you're going to rediscuss it, and then you are always up to date with what the client needs, right? So we're going to talk a lot about that in the coming slides. But I also want to mention the Scrum roles. And basically you have 3-4 main roles that are the product owner, that is the person that is in charge for writing down the product backlog and to keep up with the progress of it, making sure that everything is going fine, he's kind of the link between the stakeholder, that is the person that puts the money, and the development team, let's say. That includes engineers, designers, testers, like all these roles. So the product owner can be your client, the person that pays directly, especially if you work in a small team and you work with small clients. You might be your client might be the product owner and the stakeholder at the same time. That's not rare. That's completely normal. Or if your client doesn't have that much experience in what he knows what's the final goal, but he doesn't know or she how to put it together in a backlog, you can take that role and help that person to, together to build that backlog. And then, he will have always, of course, the last word, and he will be the decision maker. But you can guide that person to write things well in the backlog, so you understand everything and you don't get lost or you don't have misunderstandings. And then, as I said, there's the design and development team or engineering team, testers, marketing people, copywriters, everyone that is participating in the project. And then you have the Scrum Master, that is a role that is shared normally by one of the designers or the engineers. So you as a designer, as a UX designer or the UI or full unicorn designer, you can also be the Scrum Master. And what the Scrum Master does is basically making sure that the events of Scrum are being achieved, are being respected, and it like that person assures that like everything inside Scrum, inside that methodology is being checked, and there's nothing easy. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what's the cycle of a typical sprint that we call, right?
Yeah.
So
are we talking? So are you describing something in a big team, or can this be done in a really small team? Like right now, your agency is quite small, isn't it?
Yeah, we're only 2 persons. So
imagine. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and many times we work separately, so we can be a team of 1 person. Yeah. So it's for everyone. It's really, like as I mentioned before, the good thing of this is that it's very open, it's very flexible. So you can take from here, like Scrum gives you on Agile this set of tools, this set of events, this set of techniques, and then you are like, okay, for my context, so for the scope I have, for the like the resources I have in this case. And for the type of project, I'm going to take this one, and this one. And then you build your own puzzle. And the next project you do, maybe it's completely different, but you still use Agile techniques to make sure that, that the project is a success.
Right.
So that's why I think it's very cool for everyone, even in a personal note, like even for your normal daily routine, you can apply Scrum or Agile to be more productive. It almost sounds as if I said religion.
Yes, it's great.
Oh God, yeah. Sorry, I'm such a fan. So basically, the cycles or the projects, like how they are set up is the product owner, as I mentioned, with help from the development team or help with stakeholders, we'll make sure that the backlog represents the needs of the most important things to do first. And we'll make sure that after each iteration, the backlog is refreshed and is up to date for the context that we are living at that moment, because we are now, like today it's, I don't know, May, but in 2 months, maybe there's this new technology, and then we want to put in the top of that list, that ordered list, we want to put this new thing that, like it's so important, it's going to be a game changer in the technology world. So that's the flexibility that allows us, and that's the responsibility mainly of the product owner. And then we create this sprint planning that we call. So, okay, imagine we have this project for a website and we need to create a landing page. So in that landing page, there are a lot of tasks. So there can be, we need to figure out the layout. We need to put a newsletter, box where you can subscribe. We need to put some menu. We need to put some images, blah, blah, blah. And that's a lot of work. You can't do that in 2 weeks, right? So what we need to do is take the top of the backlog, that is, as I said, a prioritized from more to less priority list of tasks.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you answered to me, yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
And we will take the first bunch. I'm sorry, I don't know why my system preferences are always. We will take the first piece of the cake, let's say, right? And we will think, okay, we're going to estimate these tasks. And then we are like, okay, I think the layout is going to take me, for desktop and mobile, is going to take me around 3 hours, but it's going to take me more than 3, like just the setting the base is going to maybe take me 3 hours, but later I have to document it, blah, blah, blah. So we set a baseline there. So we say, we are going to think of a number between half, 0.5 and 8. This is a bit abstract concept, but I will explain. And we are going to set the estimation in that range of numbers. So that means the complexity and the time that is going to take me to do this task is 0.5 point, 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 5 points, and 8 points. 8 points would be the highest amount. So this is complex to do.
Right.
And the smallest one is maybe just the simplest button, or, you know, like the simplest interaction or part of the website. So we estimate like that. And then that first task, the estimation of that first task will be the baseline for the rest of the tasks that we are going to estimate. So that will mean that if later, after that layout task, we are done with the estimation, and then we come, oh yeah, there's going to be a login form. So we will estimate that login form, how much time is going to take us to design that, based on how I estimated the last story. So the last task, that is going to be, okay, is this login form more complex or less complex than this layouts task that we just estimated? You following?
Yeah. So who estimates this? Is the designer that estimates that?
The designer in this case. So we're talking now about a design sprint only.
Yeah. Okay.
In that case, the designer. Yeah. So in case that there might be the situation that there's a couple of designers in the room, and then one estimates, oh, to make that login form, it will take me 5 story points. That is quite high, actually, if you think of the amount of numbers, lower numbers. And it will be like, okay, it's 5. And the other designer is saying, no, this login form is way easier than just the layout. So I'm going to say it's 2 instead of the 3 of the layout that we said before, 2 points. And then the lowest, always if there's 2 or more designers in the room, the lowest estimation will discuss with the higher estimation and try to find a common ground. So why is that this person thinking that it's 5 story points and this other person is saying 2, right? There's like someone is thinking that there's more work than the other. And this is fun because maybe the person of 2 thought, oh, I'm just going to do the wireframe, you know, later I'm going to just do some, you know, the basics, that's it. And then the person of 5 points is like, I'm sorry, we were talking right now about the login form, but imagine you just say, you need to do the form, just email, password, that's it. But maybe the other designer is thinking, wait, but we have to later also document the error state, what happens if the person doesn't have password, like doesn't remember his password, what if is how it's going to be this disabled state for the form. That's
so it would take longer, obviously,
So then the other designer that estimated 2 is like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. So you until you find the right amount. And that's how you build every sprint. And that's why I'm saying this is because in the sprint planning, you will take a bunch of total points. So you will be, okay, 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 5 plus whatever. And we will say, okay, we're going to take tasks until we get 20 story points, for example. But can be 10, can be 30, because each team has their own velocity and their own understanding of what does a story point mean. Because it's not like a specific metric, it's just complexity plus time plus experience plus what you did before, etc.
Yeah, of course. So it varies.
Well, let's say we take that bunch on the top, that is the highest priority, and then we say, okay, in the next 2 weeks we're going to do these tasks, even though we have a lot more in our backlog, and we are going to do that in the next 2 weeks, and let's see how it goes. So that's going to be the sprint backlog. That's how we're going to call it, and it's basically a board where we have different columns. That this is also something that depends on each team. But for example, in our case, we have a to-do, in progress, testing, done. So we will have all these tasks with all these numbers. It might be very confusing, this, but it's a very complex thing to adapt to the team. But once maybe if you are interested in this, you can read more about it, and at least these concepts are already in the back of your.
Yeah, they're giving us an overview, obviously, yeah.
And then you will, in the end of the 2 weeks, you will start moving those cards from top priority to less priority, and then you will be okay, and we're completing the layout, we're completing the login form, we're completing the subscribe, and then at the end of the 2 weeks, you have something to show. This will be the team that works in the sprint, right? So this will be the active sprint that we call. So designers are working, developers are working, the Scrum Master is checking that everything that needs to be done in Agile terms is done. The product owner is checking how it's going, that sort of thing. And then at the end, we do a sprint demo where we show to the stakeholders what we have done in these 2 weeks. They are invited always, of course, if they can, because they are very, very busy people. That can happen. You do it to the product owner, that is the person that's the stakeholder designated as the decision maker for this project, right? So we will do the demo, we will go through the user stories that we made and the results of it. And then at the end of that demo, we will say goodbye to the stakeholders with a very big smile that probably they are very happy because you have been doing exactly what they wanted. And then we will do a retrospective just with the team. And there we will say what went wrong, what can be better, and what are we going to improve for the next sprint in that case.
So just to clarify, so let's say that the whole product that you need to deliver is a website. Yeah. So you decide that for the 2 week sprint, what you're going to do is the landing page. You just do one page in that website. Is that how it works? How you...
It's not that much about pages, but more about functionalities and depending on the priority of the client, because maybe the product owner wants to have at least the first chunk of the landing page where you can have the title, subtitle, and a subscribe form. But the next thing that is more important is to have access to the login form and to actually log in. And maybe there are other users to, like, it's called the tags that I've been calling all the time just to make it easier are called user stories. That's why estimation points are called story points. Maybe in the backlog that is not even the sprint backlog, there are other tasks that are less important. We have to put some illustrations or something and explain more the products, some mock-ups, etc.
Yeah, no, I just said landing page just to understand, because basically what you said at the beginning is that the beauty of it is that you decide what gets delivered and then you deliver it. And obviously in 2 weeks, you're not going to deliver the whole website. But so what I'm saying is how do you, so the client tells you first what needs to be in the first sprint. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So he decides what's on top of the backlog, the product owner, that let's say is the client. He decides what's on top of the backlog. So that's the
right. I guess it's the term backlog that is a bit difficult, because to me, backlog is things that I should have done yesterday and I haven't done. Do you know what I mean? So if I have a backlog of things, it's things that I'm behind with. So that it's the term backlog is straight. It's possibly a bit difficult to understand. It's like backlog is like a wrong. It's a bad connotation for me. It's not good, you know.
But let's say I just take that word then and transform it into a positive thing.
Right. So, okay. So a backlog is a positive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the things that you have to do.
It's a list. It's just a list of things you have to do. Okay. Your priority list of priorities. Okay.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So that's what we would take, and that's what we will bring to the sprint. And at the end of the sprint, we will have the demo that might be a non-working, like not the full design of the website, but you already can see the most important things done. Right. And maybe you were like, oh yeah, I feel confident, and you know the design team said, we're going to do 20 story points. We're going to take this bunch of tasks, right, of user stories. But maybe you only did 10, let's say, because one of you got sick, because you were overconfident and you were not that fast, as fast as you thought, or you underestimated the amount of work. But that's no problem with Scrum. So because you have been checking the whole process with the product owner through the whole time, so he knows how much it takes, and what you are just doing is learning what's your velocity actually. So for the next sprint, you are not going to make the same error of saying 20 if your velocity was 10.
Yeah, I got it.
Let's take 10 points, and that's what we're going to be able to complete. And maybe while you iterate once and another time, maybe in the fifth iteration, your velocity has grown. So maybe it's not yet the end of the sprint, of the end of the 2 weeks, and you already finished all the tasks. So what do? You just take more from the backlog. So you just take, let's take another one, and whoa, sprint memo. Okay, so how is it going with the 10 points? Wait, client, I didn't do 10, but I did 15 this time because I'm faster. I have more understanding of the projects, and more, I have more components that I can reuse, etc. So that's the magic of it. And in every retrospective, we will learn on how to work better as a team. So, for example, let's say, this person, we will put in Post-it notes, not in a conversation. Post-it notes where we thought it went good and what we thought it could be better, right? So, for example, I can say, I'm sorry, guys, I was late these first 2 days of the sprint. I couldn't sleep that well in the night, so I fell asleep in the morning, and I was late for work. And I put as an action point to try to avoid those things because it's going to affect the progress of my colleagues and of the rest of the team, and in the end of the project, of course. So that's how we learn, right? And maybe if two people had a rough conversation, we can address it in that moment and talk about it, and start clean again for the next sprint and be happier, basically. So basically, this is a bit the summary of what I said. It's like Scrum is not a closed process; it's a framework to complete projects, and it's incomplete on purpose. So you are creative enough to adapt to the changing context and resources that you have. And as a framework, it's composed with a lot of techniques, and and it can be shared also with a lot of processes or activities from the Lean UX, or workshops, interviews, things that are very related with the UX world. So I want to share a possible sprint setup. And when I say possible, there's a lot of debates in how design should be implemented in Scrum. And why is that? It's because Scrum, as I said, was born in a software environment, and more like an engineering. So there was not yet the need to add a designer in that moment in the whole cycle. So it's a bit complicated to not do mini waterfall. That is the process that we did before, right? Where I work first, then you work. I work first, then you work. I work first, then you work. Because the ideal Scrum situation would be we work at the same time, and at the end of the sprint, we have the deliverables, not only design, but also working, right? Like built at the same time.
Functioning,
That's the biggest conflict that we have in this moment. And that's why I say possible, because I'm not an Agile and a Scrum, mega expert, but I'm just sharing with you guys my experiences and how it worked, like how after trying a lot of things and failing a lot, I got into this setup that actually is the one that works best. And because I love to share it with friends that are also into this world. They are doing the same experiments, and we share feedback. Oh, this went so bad for me. Oh, this went so good for me. And then we're trying to adjust it for every project, right? So this is currently in Gusta how we manage our sprints. Normally, we outsource the development work. Sometimes our clients have the development team, so we don't need to cover that part. But we are specific designers, like UI, UX designers. And what we advise always to do, that our experience, as I said, is to do, sorry, I have here. What we do is basically just work first. So we do the design approved with the whole team. So the engineers were also participating in creating these tasks, and they know what we're going to do, and checking with them every 2 days, sharing our results live, or sending the files at the end of the day so they can see our progress and give feedback. And then after we are done and that design and concepts are approved by the client, then they start building it. And it's called like dual track, because it's like a 2-track train that works in the same direction, but one is going after another. So this is right now the setup. I'm just sharing it with you because it might be useful for you if someone.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And yeah, we call it design sprints, where the main action is from the UX and designer, the UI designer, and the tester, but the engineering team is constantly involved. So they are supporting, they are reviewing constantly, and they are on top of it. And then there's the engineering sprints, where the main action is for the front end, the back end, and the tester, and the support and review is done by UX and UI, because we need to make sure as designers that the work that we do is well implemented, the interactions that we want are there, the animations that we want are there, right? And as I said, doesn't matter if you're working for the biggest car producer or the smallest supermarket next to your house. Doesn't matter. You can apply this same way. So this is my closing part. It's like there's a common foundation between Scrum and UX, and it's like Scrum is value driven while UX is customer driven. There's transparency. The UX designers seek clarity to reach better to the users and to create a better experience for them. And then basically both of them are basing their conclusions and the way they make things on empiricism. So by using customer data, by going out to test their products, by 1,000 things that you can think now. By the way, I added here a lot of links. So everything I'm saying, you can read more about, just if it sounded strange or difficult.
Yeah, we'll add the links, yeah.
Yeah, so, and the last thing I just wanted to show is a little bit of what I mentioned before, is that we're starting as a side business from Gusta, Kogo, and this is going to be a creative agile training for business and small professionals that want to to go one step further with the way they manage their projects. And as I said, we are not gods of Agile, gods of Scrum, but we have our experience, and we hope to help others to be valuable,
Is this going to be an online business or a in-person business, like real world business?
Yeah, so we're thinking right now on first focusing on, we also have our backlog for this. The highest priority right now is to have an in-person business, because we want to get that face-to-face feedback to see how people is experiencing it, or how can we improve it. And the goal is to slowly move also into the online world. But first we're going to start testing in person. We're going to already start in June. So on this website, you will have like a connection, like a link to a form where you can just, give us some feedback, so we can also collect what kind of things are online possible users, like what do they expect from us, so we can give a better service later. And you can also be up to date in case that we start giving online consultancy, basically, that you can be tuned and you can hear about it.
Can I just ask you something?
Yeah, sure.
This means, from what I've seen, is that means that you just work on one project at a time, or do you work on more? You just work on one project at a time?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
The value of this is to be focused in one project, because, and I know that it's very difficult that to say for, especially for small teams where you may need, you know, to work for different small clients at the same time and stuff. But normally what is advised is to focus on one project, so you have the full attention, the knowledge, you know, like it's way faster the way you work, because if you start the day and end the day or the week with the same projects, you are, you know, you are warming up and then you are sprinting and then you are running faster. Well, if you have different races to run at the same time, you are going to need to warm up again and warm up again. So ideally, yes, you need to focus on one, but I would advise for those that don't have that option, that choice, I would advise to have small separate backlogs and dedicate a specific amount of hours that are planned in advance for each of the projects that they have to work in. So I would advise to work at least not more than two projects on two projects on the same day, because then that will mean that you have one warming up moment working at least half a day and another warming up moment and working the other half, and then change it.
My friend Dave Foy was saying that he uses 8 weeks periods where the team and him just concentrate on one thing, and that's it, that one project for 8 weeks. That's what they do. And he was saying that he finds it incredibly useful to do it like that. I find it really hard to decide to do something like that, but I'm thinking about it, because even in my own projects I have more than one, and the idea of just doing one terrifies me, you know. And then with clients, if you're small, you tend to have more than one client, so because it's scary to have just one.
Yeah, indeed.
Because then what you do when you finish that project, someone needs to be out there and doing the sales so that you have another project when that one finishes. Indeed, I imagine.
Indeed. Yeah, so that's why I find this so interesting, because, and that's why I also say we are not very strict on the Scrum and Agile methodology, because you can, even in those situations, just take what you need from the Agile and Scrum techniques. I'm saying Agile techniques, but you know, like more like the methodologies and, you know, activities that you can do, even if it implies for your self organization, self-management. It might be like, okay, I need to fix this sale first, and that's my highest priority. How much is that going to take me? And then you go through the whole process, and you know how much, also you can track how much time you spend on certain things. So for example, if I know that a sale, like to write a proposal takes me 5 hours, maybe every time, maybe that makes me think, oh, I might have to do some template, right? So it's faster. So, you know, like, you don't have to apply everything, but you can just take what you think it can be useful to help you in your process.
So what happens if, for instance, you decide with the client that the first backlog is going to take 2 weeks to achieve a certain result, and you were saying that you are being strict with the time that you spend? So if you say, today I'm going to work 6 hours on this, that's it, you just work those 6 hours. Yeah. Is that how it works? So what happens if things go wrong and you don't, and you need, someone makes a mistake or whatever, for whatever reason, then you need 12 hours. How does it work? So at the end of the sprint, do you drop, how does it work? How do you solve it?
If something goes wrong, doesn't go as planned, you are definitely learning that for the next time, you either wrote in the wrong way the story, the user story, or the task that you had to do, or you maybe underestimate the amount of work that needed to be done, or you didn't get the right information to do this, right? So there's always there's always things that we can improve for the next time. And what you would be saying is, I'm sorry to the client, I'm sorry, I did my best to do this, but it didn't, like, I thought I was going to get there, but I did a mistake in my estimation. For the next sprint, I'm going to make sure we're going to fix this, or we're going to talk a bit more on what needs to be done, so then this doesn't happen again. It's a learn by doing process. It's a collaborative work. So I would advise to be very transparent. That's one of the key words for this whole thing. Because if you are transparent with the client and you are in the second day, so if you thought I'm going to take 2 hours for doing this task, and then it's already 6 hours later, like you are still doing it in 6 hours, maybe that's a flag that is raising, and maybe you need to pay attention to it. So you just need to be transparent. Call the client, text him, hey, I'm sorry, but I thought that this task was very clear to me, and that's why I estimated it in this way. But I just realized that there's some information that I don't have very clear in my mind. So could you please talk me more about this and stuff? Or, can we sit together and review it, or maybe create small mini tasks out of this big task, right? So try to encapsulate everything as small as possible. Because the smallest you can do it, the easiest is going to be for you to estimate. And it doesn't matter if it's too small, because that might mean that if you have very small tasks, that might mean that the amount of the list that you take is this and not this. So it's better to take more but smaller than less but big.
Yeah, got it. Okay, that's super interesting. I have one last question, which is what bit, so because you said you introduced the Agile methodology, but then you said we're using also Scrum, which is like a framework. So what did we see of the sprint thing that you showed us? What bit is Agile and what is Scrum? Because I'm still a little bit confused about that.
Yeah, no, that's completely normal. So Agile basically is the umbrella, the set of values of wanting to work as efficient as possible in a flexible way, being honest and transparent, being user-centered, like it's this set of principles. And Scrum is what gives you the methodologies, like the
right.
I'm so sorry, I might have confused some words because just
no, it's fine. Yeah, no.
Language, so I have a bit of trouble. But yeah, so we basically would have Scrum with a set of those tools, those events of creating the backlog, creating the speak backlog, creating the demo, doing the retrospective. Those are events that are inside the Scrum methodology, but they follow the principles of Agile. If you know. Like
I get it now. That wasn't clear, but that's okay.
So then the sprint will be part of the set of tools from Scrum.
Okay.
The roles would be also part of the Scrum methodology, and there are others like Kanban that is just another way of dividing your work. And
I see. I completely understand now. Okay, great, perfect.
Thank you for the question.
No, great. Okay, this was so interesting, really, really interesting. And I think there's more to explore, definitely. I think there's lots to think about and to find out find out more about it. And then, of course, your school basically is going to be first in Spanish, or is it going to be in English as well?
Yeah, the same way as I'm going to do it like face to face, just in person. I think I'm going to start with Spanish, but my goal is to actually move towards the English market as well, because there's a lot of people in a lot of countries that are in the same situation as Spain, right? That they would love to learn more about it. That it's not only something that happens in the tech hubs of the world, right?
Well, exactly, that's it. And these methodologies are for everyone. It's just that people, when they don't know about them, they feel a bit intimidated. It's like, what is UX? What is Agile? And then when you find out about it, it's actually it makes a lot of sense. It's basically common sense, isn't it? So yeah. So how do you think, are you gonna approach companies? How are you gonna market it? Will you market it? Yeah.
I'm currently working on it, but first thing we're going to do is run this like form around where we can learn more about what people is interesting to learn, right?
Yeah, survey, yeah.
Yeah, we really want to give value to the people that wants to know this, and we, of course, I have the hypothesis that they will be interested in the things that I do, but I don't know, so I need to actually experiment it and see. So we would really appreciate it if you can just stop by the website of Kogo and just fill in the form so we can get more insights and we can hopefully provide a good experience for you. So what I was also providing with it is like if you can give that feedback, and lately we can send you like more information in case that we are available in English and online. It would be very cool also to have a 10% discount if you do a course later. So if you give me your email, and I know that it was around this time before it was in English, I will definitely love to give you a discount for it. So for your help.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll make sure that all the links are very clear, and also promote them in the group and wherever I can into my list. Absolutely. You know, it's really, really interesting.
Thank you.
Great.
I hope it was clear enough. It's funny. We always say this. Like for me, it took me almost 1.5 years to understand everything of this.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It was like an hour of time. No, it was great. I mean, more than anything, it just makes me think, wow, I want to learn more. You know, it's a really interesting way of approaching work, and I think it needs, you know, when you go online with a course, it will be great. You know, it will be really great, because I haven't seen courses online on this. I don't know if there are, but I haven't seen them.
Yeah, there are a lot, but they are very focused on the basics of Agile and a bit like, you know, an extended version of what I just told you. And there are a lot based on showing this for development. But
right, yeah, that's it, yeah.
To help in the creative side, right? Like how does a creative person, how can I as a creative work better, more efficiently, and that much anxiety and stress? Like, how can I do this, right? And we just want to share our experiences. And as you said, like just by asking questions, oh, hey, what happens if this goes wrong? Or I have this problem with this client. We can see together, oh, this happened to me before. This is what I did. It might help, right?
Yeah. Great. Okay, well, that was brilliant, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. It was great. And yes, I think that we'll have you on again, probably, maybe to run us through a project. We'll see. But it was incredibly interesting. So thank you very much to Mark from Pictionary of Design for Geeks. And goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.